Everybody find a seat, please. Everybody. It's on my chest. Where's your chest? Right underneath your chin. It is 1:45. Yesterday, today, forever, Jesus is. Sing it. All may change, but Jesus never. Glory to his name. Glory to his name. Glory to his name. All may change, but Jesus never. Glory to his. It's 1:45. We're glad to have Clint Miller come and sing some Bible with us.
Amen.
Jerusalem, our feet shall stand within thy gates. Our feet shall stand within thy gates. O Jerusalem, our feet shall stand within thy gates. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek thy good. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek thy good. Our feet shall stand within thy gates. O Jerusalem, our feet shall stand within thy gates. Our feet shall stand within thy gates. O Jerusalem, our feet shall stand within thy gates.
Our feet shall stand within thy gates.
O Jerusalem, our feet shall stand within thy gates. Our feet shall stand within thy gates. O Jerusalem, our feet shall stand within thy gates.
If you like singing God's word, say amen. Me too. Psalms 126, familiar verses here. We're going to teach you a psalm. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed.
Goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. They that sow
singing verse 5 and 6. We're going to open up in a minute with He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed. Sing along.
He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheep.
Verse 5.
They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy.
One more time.
He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy.
Amen. Psalms 92 says, it is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord. By the way, that means it's a bad thing not to. Count your blessings, name them one by one. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord. Psalms 92. Hey, this works out well. Verse 1 is verse 1. I like it when that happens. We sing verse 1, 2, 3, and 4. Boy, how about that? It's in order. Amen. It is a good thing
To give thanks unto the Lord, and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth loving kindness in the morning, and thy faithfulness every night. Upon an instrument of 10 strings and upon the psaltery, upon the harp with a solemn sound. For thou, Lord, hast made me glad through thy works. I will triumph in the works of thy hands. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord.
Come on along and sing in. We're going to start in the first verse. Just sing out loud. Sing unto him. Sing psalms unto him. If you're going to try and sing along this time, say amen. I like it when you talk that way from the beginning. It is a good thing
To give thanks unto the Lord, and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth loving kindness in the morning, and thy faithfulness every night. Upon an instrument of 10 strings and upon the psaltery, upon the harp with a solemn sound. For thou, Lord, hast made me glad through thy works. I will triumph in the works of thy hands. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the
Sing it out
Lord.
loud.
It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord, and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth loving kindness in the morning, and thy faithfulness every night.
By the way, we're across the street in 105. We have the Psalms on tape. Come on over and see us. Thank you. We'll teach you some more Psalms later. God bless you.
I'm sure you understand that Brother Miller wrote those songs. He had help with the words, but he himself wrote the tune to all those songs, and he has, I don't know how many of the Psalms he has, but he has a lot of them that he has set to music. I love them. It does something to me. I like to, and so get the tapes. Wonderful way to memorize the scripture. I wrote words that Jesus wept, and I love to sing it. And I learned it within a day. But go over there across the street now and be sure and do some business and get those songs on tape. Open your Bibles to 1 Samuel chapter 30. 1 Samuel chapter 30. Verse number 6. I'm going to make very practical what I spoke about before we had lunch. I'm going to tell you just step by step about 16, 18 different things that I do to keep on top side. And these are very, very practical. 1 Samuel chapter 30 and verse number 6. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. I'm going to ask you a question. Are you too cool over here? Raise your hand if you're too cool over here. You comfortable? Grumble on Monday, Tuesday. I didn't ask you to gripe. I just asked you if you're too cool, that's all. And I didn't think you were, but I'm just always thinking about others and how I can cheat others and whip others and so forth. But everything I do, let's pray first. Father, help us to be a help. That's all I ask. Just help me to be a help. Amen. Everything I do, and I mean that, whatever I do to prepare to walk out that door right there. My whole life is built around walking out that door right there. That's one reason why Sunday morning and Sunday night and Wednesday night you'll find me here. Unless I'm sick, and that's only been a few times in 30 years, I'm here Sunday morning and Sunday night. I think only once a year about am I going on Wednesday night, and that's because, and by the way, I don't rejoice when a preacher's in the congregation, so I can say, would you come up and preach for us tonight? I preach myself, and because I love it. This is my life, has been for over a third of a century. It's been my life, and these are my people. And so everything I do, I mean literally my entire life is built on preparing myself to walk out that door right there. My fellowship, as I said this morning, my fellowship. I choose with whom I fellowship, with that door right there in mind. I come to this auditorium every week of my life. And I come to that door right there when this building is empty, and I walk in that door. And I practice walking from that door to this pulpit. I come and sit right here in this chair, and I practice walking from that chair to this pulpit. It's my life. My reading, when I read, the only reason I read, basically, is to find things that'll help my people. When I read something, I read it. Will this help my people? You know, you do that sometime. Like if you're somewhere and you say, I bet my wife would enjoy this. Or I think I'll take one home to my children. They'd like to have this. Or I wish she were here to enjoy this with me. I live that way concerning my people. My praying has to do with my walking out that door right there. My Bible study, when I read the Bible, I'm looking for things that my people need. My schedule, which I'll talk to you about now, my schedule is wrapped up around one thing, and that is walking through that door right there. Now, people are trying to destroy my spirit, and for the sake of my people, I must not allow them to. I must control myself, and I must stay on top, as I said a while ago, for the sake of my people. Now, the question is, how do you do it? All right? I do it on purpose. Everything you do, do it on purpose. I refuse to let people make me mad. I'm going to talk about that one of these sessions, maybe after a while, maybe tomorrow. I'm going to talk about the science of anger. The science of anger. I refuse to let people make me mad. I'll decide when I ought to get mad. I'll decide, on purpose, on purpose. Now then, I'm going to give you, one at a time, things that I do in my schedule that help me stay on top. The science of staying on top. Number one, I take care of no business late at night. I take care of no business late at night. Never, 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 never. I never take care of business late at night. Sometimes it'll help keep me from sleeping. Let's suppose that I take care of financial business. And I suppose, as we always do here, we're always in a financial crisis. Always are. Let's suppose that I take care of trying to figure out the finances of the college, and we have enough money at the college right now. It'll last us about 3 days. If we don't get any money this week, we're gone. That's how close we stay. Let's suppose, though, at 9 o'clock at night, I decide to take care of the college finances. And I get concerned. I say, how in the world are we going to take care of those finances? Listen to me now. That's why I'm talking to you. And so I'll get concerned about it. And I may not be able to sleep at night. And just like I want to control everything else, I want to control my ability to sleep. So I take care of no business late at night. Number two, the later the appointment, the easier. The later the appointment, the easier. When I make appointments at night, I make the heavy ones first and the easy ones later. Always do. Somebody comes in and says, Brother Hyles, I have a marital problem. Need some marital counseling. I'll give them an appointment at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Not at 9 o'clock at night. Not the heavy appointments late at night. The later at night, the easier the appointment. All these things. You say, what are you trying to do? Keep yourself in good shape? No, I'm trying to keep my people in good shape. I'm trying to keep myself on top side for the sake of my people. Number three, the easier the appointment, the later in the week. The easier the appointment, the later in the week. As the week comes to the end, I'll come to that again after a while. I try to take care of my heavy appointments earlier in the week. I try not to have a lot of heavy appointments near the Lord's Day. Number four, no counseling or business before I preach. No counseling or business. Never counsel Sunday morning before I preach. Never counsel Sunday night before I preach. Never counsel Wednesday night before I preach. And take care of no business before I preach. You preachers that have deacons meeting on Sunday night, 6 o'clock, may I tell you what you are? You got it. You got it. I understand you. Have a deacons meeting 6 o'clock and go preach at 7. You don't have the kind of deacons meeting we have. But anyway, you do, but that's why you have trouble. So I take care of no business before I preach. Number 5, isn't it? Number 5. I take care of the heavy stuff on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I take care of the heavy stuff on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Anything that possibly could be discouraging, I take care of it on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now you'll be surprised at this, but I'm sensitive. I hurt. I don't mean I get angry. I do not get angry, but I get wounded. I get sad, and I'm about a 2-day recoverer. Whenever something, a real blow hits me, for a while I just bleed. But after about 2 days, I recover. So I like to keep my potential problems at least a couple of days before I have to preach. And so I try to take care of my heavy problems on Mondays and Tuesdays and also on Thursdays and Fridays. Number 6, no heavy appointments on Saturday. No heavy appointments on Saturday. Now by heavy, I mean appointments that could discourage me. appointments that could cause me grief. I take care of no heavy appointments on Saturday. Number 7, no appointments on Sunday. No appointments of any kind on Sunday. No appointments of any kind on Sunday. Now, you folks, the members of our church, or have been, you know what I do. On Sunday morning after the service, I go to my office door, and people line up outside my office door and come in to ask me questions, but not appointments, not counseling sessions, just to ask my advice. Brother Hyles, I'm going to buy this car. What do you think about it? Brother Hyles, I've got a house I'm considering out in South Hammond. Could you go by and look at it? Brother Hyles, the doctor says I have cancer. Would you anoint me with oil and pray for that I'll be healed? Dr. Hyles, could I make my senior appointment with you? Things like that. Now, I see people on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night after the services. Sunday morning, non-college people. Sunday night, college men. And Wednesday night, college ladies. But I have no appointments on Sunday. None whatsoever. For example, I said a while ago, over 100 people have wanted to make appointments with me this week. First place, I haven't got time. Anybody would ask me that has no concept what it's like to operate a thing like this. But secondly, I don't want to get my mind on your divorce right now. I want to get my mind on trying to help you in this meeting and help you to, right now stay on top. So no appointments on Sunday. Number 5, no mail on Saturday, Sunday, or Wednesday, or at night. No mail. Do not open mail on Saturday. Do not open mail on Sunday. Do not open mail on Wednesday. Do not open mail at night after 8 o'clock. Never. Never. You know why? It might be something there that you say, well, Brother Hyles, trying to keep them getting discouraged? No, I'm trying to keep my people get what they ought to get. I'm getting myself ready to walk through that door. I'm seeing to it that the things that I see and hear do not injure my people. So I take care. I open no mail on Saturday, open no mail on Sunday, open no mail on Wednesday, open no mail at night after 8 o'clock. Number 8, my heaviest appointments are on Thursday night. My heaviest appointments are on Thursday night. Once again, so I can recover if I have to before Sunday when I walk through that door on Sunday morning. You know, I read a sermon years ago by B.H. Carroll. Now, I'm not a B.H. Carroll fan, but I like this sermon. It was entitled, I Magnify Mine Office. I Magnify Mine Office. I happen to think that I hold the most important job in the city of Hammond. I happen to think that my job is the most important job in the state of Indiana. And I don't mean I just think that. We live that way. That's the way we live. The mayor of Hammond called my secretary one day, and my receptionist, and said, I talked to Jack. And she said, we have nobody here with that name. And he said, oh, yes, you do. I want to talk to Jack. He's pastor there. She said, we have nobody here that answers to the name Jack. He said, now listen, I want you to know that I am the mayor of this city. And she said, and I want you to know I am the receptionist of this office. She said, now we have a man here that answers to Brother Hyles, Pastor Hyles, Dr. Hyles, Preacher Hyles, but we have nobody here that answers the name of Jack. And the mayor of Hammond, okay, Father Hyles, Rabbi Hyles, Reverend Hyles, let me talk to the boss man. She said, I'll connect you. I'll connect you. If the mayor wants to see me, he comes to my office. I don't go to his. My job is bigger than his. We were having a youth conference here one year, and they tried to shut us down because of a measles epidemic. And the health department came out and tried to shut us down. I went to the phone, called the governor. Got him just like that, just like if I called home. I got the governor. And I said, now, Governor, we're going to keep this thing going. If you want to put us all in jail, go ahead, but this thing is not going to close down. And hundreds of you folks were here at the time. I'm simply saying I happen to think that pastoring a New Testament church is the biggest job in the whole world. Oh, you do too, but you don't get up till 9 o'clock in the morning. You do too, but you don't even know the sun comes up gradually. You do too, but you get your sermon at midnight on Saturday night. I promise you that the Super Bowl is not planned as well as pastor school. I promise you that the World Series is not as well planned as pastor school. And I promise you that the best organized institution in this country is the First Baptist Church of Hammond, Indiana. I promise you that. You know why? Because I not only say amen to the statement that this is the most important job in the world, but I act like it. And we live like it. That door right, that walk right there is the most important walk in America. And because of that, everything I do is pointing to that. Number 9, no, I read no notes or mail before I preach. None. I probably get 100 letters or maybe 200 notes or letters under my door every Sunday. I never read them on Sunday. Never. Read them on Monday morning on the airplane. I've got plenty of time to recover then. Don't read the notes. You folks in First Baptist Church, if you write me notes on Sunday, stick them on the door. Don't expect me to read them. I don't. Sometimes I'll be on the airplane on Monday and it'll say, could I see you after the service this morning? But I don't read them. Why? Because there may be some note in there that I don't need to see and hear before I walk to the pulpit. You say that's selfish. No, it's not selfish. I'm thinking about the people out here. I've got to walk through that door on top side. I've got people out here that need me more than anything in the whole world. They need encouragement. They need lifted. They need fed. They need strength. You don't understand it. Those people out, it so happens that church is not something to go to like you go to Mass because it's time to go to church. Church is time you go somewhere to get your soul fed and inspired and your spirits lifted and strength to face tomorrow. Number 10. I take care of all big problems in the daytime. I take care of all big problems in the daytime. I've got to sleep at night. I don't get a lot of sleep, but I sleep. You know why I sleep? Because these people need somebody out here that's alert. I believe from the crown of my head to the sole of my feet that the members of First Baptist Church of Hammond need Dr. Jack Hyles more than they need a medical doctor, or more than they need a dentist, or more than they need a lawyer. The greatest need they have in this world, as far as the institution or a person is concerned, is they need a man of God to stand behind them. And by cracky, behind this pulpit there stands a man of God. I don't claim to be a great preacher. I'm not a great preacher, but I'm a man of God, and that's all said. 2 and 2's 4, sunrise east sets in the west. The Cubs are going to come in last place this year, and I'm a man of God. It's all said. And I refuse to walk behind this pulpit without having been with God during the week. An old man at the hospital up here, must have been 67. Way old. An old man, 88 years of age, at St. Margaret's Hospital. They called me and said he wants to see you. I went to see him, and as he died, he said these words. He said, "Thank you, Reverend." He said, "Thank you for walking with God 6 days a week and telling me on the 7th day what he said. For these 14 years, I've been a member of your church." Everybody that sits in these pews next Sunday morning has a perfect right to expect that door opens, a man of God walks through that door, who's got his sermon prepared, who's got his heart prepared, who's walked with God during the week. Not somebody played golf on Monday, bowled on Tuesday, went shopping on Wednesday, and got down and scribbled a few little notes late on Saturday night and walked in the pulpit with little handfuls of purpose outlined. I'm talking about a man of God with a message from God, with the power of God, who's walked with God during the week. They deserve it. They're going to get it. It has been years since I walked behind this pulpit on a Sunday morning without spending at least 20 hours on my face with God or alone with God during that weekend prayer. And I'm not a great Christian, and maybe that's why I got to pray an awful lot. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm not going to be a sham, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite, and I'm not going to take my check on the 1st and 15th if I've not been a man of God, if I've not walked with God. And you preachers that spend an hour a week in prayer or less, or maybe an hour and a half a week in prayer, you're a disgrace to the ministry. You're not even in the ministry. You're a facade. You're a fake. You haven't got a right to walk behind the pulpit. You spend more time playing golf than you do on your face before God. What kind of nation are we going to... Quit talking about the queers. Quit blaming the liquor traffic. Quit blaming the dope heads. Quit blaming the baby murderers. It's God's men we ought to blame. And I'm not talking about the liberals. I'm not talking about John MacArthur. I'm talking about you, MacArthur. It's time you learned how to pray. It's time you learned how to walk with God. Next number. I do not read any letters on the pulpit or notes. You leave a note on my pulpit, it'll go unread. Can you imagine, you fellows, here's a note on your pulpit, and you're about to deliver God's message after having been with God all week long. You're God's man standing before God's people, and you read that note. Do you know what you are? You know what you are? You're an idiot. Those notes are just as likely to be critical notes as they are to be good notes. And I'm not going to read them. I am going to guard myself. Why? I'm guarding my people. When I walk through that door, right there, I'm going to be on top side. I'm going to have my sermon prepared. I'm going to have my heart prepared. I'm going to have my mind prepared. I'm not going to have a little hopped up outline that I happen to think of. God is great. God is good. Let us thank Him for the food. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I will resign this church whenever I can't spend 20 hours on my face alone with God. You say, Brother Hyles, I'm so busy. Oh, yes, you are. I wish sometime I could get a church as big as yours so I could be busy. Now, you listen to me. I have over 100,000 people that call me pastor, and over 40,000 of those come to something at least one time every 2 weeks. I counsel with 147 people average a week in my office. I travel 200,000 miles a year on jet planes. I keep a college going with almost 3,000 full and part-time students. I keep 2 high schools going, 2 grade schools going, a junior high school going. I preach. I average making three speeches, sermons or lessons every day of my life. I have to raise $40,000 every day and keep this great monster afloat here. Well, bless God, I don't care if I don't get anything else done. When I open this Bible on Sunday morning, I'm going to be prepared. I can't do it all. I can't do all I'm supposed to do. I'm going to talk about priorities later on. All right? I do not read letters on the pulpit. Next number, I do not read anonymous correspondence. You know Sina? I know Rita. No. I look down and see if the name is signed. If there's no name signed, I won't read it. I don't read anonymous correspondence. He said, Brother Hyles, curiosity killed the cat. Yeah, I know it, but knowing killed the preacher. I'm saying that I don't do it. Next number. I do not read nasty mail or articles. I've had books written about me. I haven't read a word in them yet. Not a word. Don't know what they say. You say, what are you trying to do? Keep yourself in a good spirit? No, keep my people in a good spirit. I'm the conduit from which must flow what I see and what I hear to those people that sit in these pews. So I will not. Every letter I get, if my secretary and I do not know who it's from, if I get a letter from you fellows, if we know who you are, that's different. But every letter We don't know who it's from. My secretary opens that letter and reads it. If it's nasty, I never see it. Wasted your time, didn't you? And I want you to know, to those who don't like what we're doing this week, you're going to waste your time too. So if it's nasty, I don't read it. You know why? Because if I read some of that nasty mail and I've got to walk through that door. I've got to walk through that door. And this crowd, just like you see this thing this morning, is exactly the way I'll see it Sunday night when I walk through this door. And I can't walk through that door defeated. And I can't walk through that door down in the dumps. I've got to walk through that door saying, glory to God, woo, everything's all right in my Father's house. So I don't read nasty mail. My secretary does. She's miserable. It's like a fella quit smoking, afraid to get cancer of the lungs. So every time he got a cigarette, he stomped it and died with cancer of the foot. But anyway, okay, so you win some, you lose some. Next number. I don't read letters from every one of my church members. I got church members whose letters I won't read because I know they're negative. I don't read them. I got one the other day on the outside. It said, from somebody whose letters you won't read. That's all I read. I know who's griping and who's not griping. I know who's upset with the youth department, who's upset with the principal of the high school, and who's not. And I just don't read them. Next number. I re-outline my sermons before the service. I re-outline my sermons before the service. Now I have the sermon all outlined. Always. But let me get to the next point and I'll explain them both. I keep sermons ahead. I don't prepare sermons for next Sunday. I prepare sermons that my people will need. And I keep a stack of them. I know I have 60 sermons right now that I know my people are going to need sometime soon. And I outline those sermons. I usually prepare 6 to 7 sermons a week. And I put those sermons in an outline. And then when the weekend comes, I get on my knees and ask God to let me know which one I ought to preach that Sunday. See, I'm not pressured. I don't like some of you fellas. It's Saturday night. Oh, brother, we want to hear somewhere. Oh, God, somewhere. Oh, somewhere. It's 1:15. I got 10 hours and 45 minutes. I've been there, Buster. I don't do that anymore. No way. I mean, if I get sick on Saturday night and can't study, I'm not without a sermon on Sunday. I do not live under pressure. I just don't. I live loosely. I don't live under pressure. I refuse to. I don't just barely meet deadlines. And by the way, I'm always on time. Always. If I'm going home and supposed to be home at 4:30 in the evening, if I am 2 blocks from the house at 4:30, I call on the car phone and tell Ms. Hyles I'll be a minute late. I'm never 1 minute late unless I get caught in a traffic jam. And even then, it's not once every 2 months. I don't live that way. I don't have to floorboard. I wonder if I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. I refuse. Look, I'm 67 years old, but I got a pretty alert mind for an old man. You know why I got a pretty alert mind? Because I don't do that. I don't live under pressure. I don't. Well, how's all you got to do? I plan it. I live by schedule, and I'll get that. That's the next one. I set time for everything and live by schedule. I set time for everything and live by schedule. When I say I live by schedule, I mean I live by schedule. Every week is, except pastor school, something like this, every week's the same. I have time set. If something comes up at the college, and I've got to handle something at the college, I don't handle it then. I have a time set to handle college business. I meet with Dr. Young every Saturday morning about college business at 9:45. I meet with Dr. Evans about college business at 11 o'clock. Now, I know that's set. So when something comes up at about college, I put it over here on a certain spot. When time Saturday comes, I'm there. I have a meeting with my principals about our schools, high school, junior high, and grade schools. And if something comes up on Wednesday about the schools, I put it over here in a little spot. We talk about it on Saturday. I do not take care of things when they come up. I refuse to let circumstances control my schedule. My schedule will control my circumstances. I'm talking to preachers today that have 40 members that are more nervous than I am. You know why? 'Cause your wife can change your whole day. When you going to clean the basement? That's why I started a rescue mission. Let the mission men clean the basement. When you going to mow the yard? That's why I started the mission. Let them mow the yard. When you going to shovel the snow? That's why I married you, baby. I wish everybody could be as happy as I am. I really do. And you know what I feel sorry for? I feel sorry for you fellows that got to get in the mood to preach. I really do. I feel sorry for you. Don't mess with me. I'm getting in the mood to preach. Won't you decide to stay in the mood to preach? I got to get in the mood to have my name written in the book of life. It's done been there. You give me 10 seconds to think about it, and I'm ready to go. Oh, God. Oh, help. If you never preached, you'd never pray. You know what you are? You're wonderful. I got you, didn't I? Wonderful idiots. I wish I could get you happy. I wish I could get you to know yourself. I know what makes me happy. I know what I enjoy. I tell my people, if you have a good day, when it's over, write down what you did and have another one. If you have a bad day, at the end of the day, write down what you did and don't do it anymore. Don't have another bad one. Oh, my soul. There are people that sit out here on Sunday morning that can't wait till Sunday morning. It's their strength, it's their hope, it's their encouragement. Some of you sanctimonious preachers, I just don't believe in levity in the pulpit. If I looked at your face in the mirror when I shaved, I wouldn't either. Praise God. Just give me 10 seconds and I'll be there. What you going to preach about? I don't know necessarily. If you get in 10 seconds, I can't prepare a sermon, but I'll think of something. I'll just thank God my name's written in heaven. Do you know, I got about a dozen things that always stir me. I ever get bogged. Hey, you're holding hands with my wife. You know that, don't you, fella? Boy, your love's grown cold in a hurry, I'll tell you for sure. It's a burden for you guys to preach. You know who my favorite preacher is? Me. Because I get to do it and hear it at the same time. I love it, 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 I love it. And your people won't enjoy your preaching until you enjoy your preaching. Now the trouble with you is, honest to Pete, your trouble is you can't stay on top. And the reason you don't stay on top is you're not very smart. You don't live on purpose. You don't plan your life. You don't learn what makes you tick and what makes you do this and makes you do that. Know yourself. How do you know yourself? Study yourself. And I preach all over this country. I preach in small platforms and tall platforms. I preach to people that frown and people that laugh. I preach to little crowds and big crowds. But I'll bind you one thing. You come to hear me preach anywhere in America. I don't care if it's 30 people there. I'll preach with the same vigor I preach when I preach with 10,000 people. You check and see. You know why? Because I work on myself. Dean Miller and I were at a church not long ago preaching. I think we had about 75 people there. We really draw well together. 75 people poured in. We would have had 1,000, but he repels people, but he preached first. And I sat back in the back. And I counted 75 like this. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. They're near 45. I'm about 75 at the most. And it was dull. Have you ever heard him preach? It was dull. It was heavy. It was like running a 100-yard dash in peanut butter, wasn't it? It was heavy. And I sat back in the back. I looked at 75 people. Our choir's got more than 75. I got more ushers than 75. I got 800 teachers and officers. There I flew 500 miles to preach to 75 stinking people. No, 2 of them smell good, 73. 75. You know what I did? Huh? I sat back there. I knew what to do. I knew what to do. Because I planned what to do in a case like that. I went back to Bogota, Texas, to a little church with 19 members. I used to sit on the platform with about 11 there, and I used to look out and see those 11 people and wonder if I'd ever preached more people than that. And I used to come by the First Baptist Church of Bogota. They averaged 106 in Sunday school. Miss Hyles and I would stop out there and watch them pour in. 106. I'd say, you reckon we'll ever have that many? She said, no. We may have a big church someday, but we'll never have 106. Boy, I sat up there and I was back in the back while Miller was preaching, and I got to thinking about that little church. I got thinking, good night. We got 7 times as many people here tonight as I used to have. Man, I got 75 people here. Then I got thinking that. Not only that, I'm representing Jesus tonight. I mean, he was booked solid, so I took his place. I mean, he's busy interceding for me, and I'm down interceding for him. I get to represent the King of Kings and Lord of Lords tonight before 75 people. Hey, man, let me at him. Let me at him. Let me at him. Now, here's your problem. Oh, the crowd's down. So you'll skin the folks that aren't there, that are there for the blaming the folks that aren't there. That's why on Sunday morning you can't preach a lick. Christmas morning, rather, Christmas Sunday, you can't preach a lick. But those people that are there need you. One of these days I'm going to teach a lesson on my sermon titles year-round. My best preaching here is in the summertime. You know why? I work harder. You know why? Because the crowd's down. And I want to give it all I've got. I say to my staff, listen, when the crowd's down, don't anybody can preach when the crowd's up. Let me hear you when the crowd's down. Don't let me hear you at the convention. Let me hear you at teachers' meeting. I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, this country needs some men of God who are on top side. And if you're going to stay on top side, you are going to have to do it on purpose. People say to me, Brother Hyles, when you had that little church in the country, how did you operate? Just like I do now. Same way. When I had 4 Sunday school teachers, had the same type meeting I have now until I got 800. Same type. You don't get to people and then learn how to take care of. You take care of what you got, and God will give you some more.
All right. And again, I welcome you to our pastor's school. If you just came in, since this morning's sessions, my name is Jeff Owens. I'm an assistant pastor here at the church, and I'll be with you here this afternoon. We're going to be talking to you about some new ministries and ideas that we have developed here at First Baptist Church. We're calling this year the Year of the Redeemed. We have a goal to see every person we can saved this year. We're going to give you some of the ideas that we'll use to accomplish that. You go ahead and have a seat. We'll be able to get started, and if you'll look right this way.
We're judging Brother Hyles' preaching lately on how many microphones he kicks over. That was a 5-banger. Boy, I'm impressed. My name is Jack Scopp. I'm an assistant to the president at... Thank you. I'm an assistant to the president of the college, Hyles Anderson College. I work with Dr. Evans and work with our summer tour groups. Many of you have had a tour group from our college in your church, and maybe you have one scheduled this summer, and we're glad for that, of course. And then I also teach a singles department here at the college, at the church rather, and also have a bus route at the church here. Today we're going to talk about, just briefly, the Halt and Lame ministry. The Halt and Lame. This will be mostly informational, so if you want to take a pen and paper out and jot some ideas down, I have 3 pages of information here, and I'll go slow enough for you to jot a few notes down, but fast enough to make sure I don't go over time here. Those of you from college, remember those days when I went slow enough, right? Never did. Let me say thank you so much for coming to this pastor school. Big welcome from all of us at the college. And God bless you. Hope you're having a great day so far. I'm sure you are. Halt and Lame ministry, we're talking about mentally sound but physically disabled in one way or another. I want to talk to you first of all where to find the halt and the lame in your area. First of all, I would begin with a church-wide census and also your Christian school-wide census. The children in your school, the people in your church, probably all know 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 people who have some type of physical disability that prevents them from interacting with the regular, what we call sometimes normally able children. Secondly, you can purchase specialized mailing lists from local and national mailing list companies that will target these specific groups. People who subscribe to specialty magazines. I called a national mailing list in Chicago, and they said we can give you thousands of names just in Chicagoland area, addresses and phone numbers. Just those people that we know have either purchased some type of artificial limb or a wheelchair or specialty crutches, etc. And those are less than 20 cents per address. You could get hundreds of names for just dollars. Thirdly, you can contact your local, regional, or national Muscular Dystrophy Association or the March of Dimes organization. I would tell them that you have skilled and unskilled volunteer help available to assist physically disabled people, and you need their help in locating them. And I'll explain more about what I mean with that in just a moment, but they are very helpful. In fact, I just wrote one of our local people here just to see what it'd be like, how helpful they'd be. They gave me 20 names just like that in one day, and said, we'd love to have your help. Here's 20 names of people. Likewise, local rehabilitation centers, and often, of course, the Chicagoland area, we have dozens of hospitals that cater specifically to those needs in dealing with people who need special physical help. Let me get quickly into this, how to reach the halt and lame. One of the best ideas we have is the area-wide Special Olympics. You could do this once a year, where you can have a local high school or a civic auditorium or gymnasium rented out. In fact, I spoke with the East Chicago, the principal of the East Chicago school system. They have a gymnasium there with 18 full-size basketball courts in, and he says, anytime you want it, you can have it, Jack. It helped. We won him to Christ, and so he's a little sensitive to us and likes us. But he said, anytime you want to use it, it's yours, and or civic auditoriums. Along with that, you could revise traditional games and create new games of competition. In fact, I sat down just a while ago and listed 17 new games that you could play with these type of people or modifications of existing games. It'd be a lot of fun. They could get into it and be exciting for them. Also, this is all the next couple of moments will be under the Special Olympics idea. We said get a civic auditorium, a local high school gymnasium, or a playing field. Revise traditional games or create new games. Let me just give you an example I'm talking about. I wrote down a wheelchair basketball free throw competition, wheelchair slam dunk competition, wheelchair wheeling contest, wheelchair races, wheelchair pushing contest, crutches throw, cane toss, shot put, archery, a biathlon with wheelchairs so many distance, and you got to shoot archery after you go 100 yards or so, and some spin-off of the Olympic Games. Arm wrestling, crutch and cane, kickball, hand walk. I've seen there's a couple of fellows I know that do hand walks across. They'll do a 100-yard hand walk because they have no legs. They got extremely muscular arms. One-legged hops, volleyball, one-handed basketball, etc. But those different types of games. Then also you could advertise on radio, cable TV, newspaper. They all have special free advertising for these kinds of events. And if you'll speak with maybe a reporter, they'll plug it big. This is the kind of thing they like to think they're a part of it and could promote it real big, your specialty advertising for the handicap. It makes them look good. Of course, it'll make you look good, too. Might want to speak with the editors of such or maybe a reporter and see if they could plug it for you. Register every contestant, of course, their name and address, which is what you want for a follow-up visit with your soul winners. You got to have a halt and lame Christian speaker. Speak an inspirational message of the gospel. Hey, you could bring Tanya Harding or Nancy Kerrigan and speak on Christian ethics and competition. Or the golden rule. We tease about that, but there's several people. I'm thinking of 2 or 3 staff members we have here at the college or church who have different handicaps and are very skilled speakers and able and could be tremendous identification and also put the gospel in their certain lane, get them saved. Then contact area school principals to promote this whole event in their schools, and again, they'd be glad to, and we've had good success with that. Finally, in the Olympics, you could have an Olympic, could be every year. You have a big awards ceremony afterwards. We're giving out trophies and plaques and recognition. And I think the Olympics would be a fabulous way. Literally, some of your cities, hundreds of people turning out with their families, their relatives and such. And it became a yearly event. It'd be a wonderful way to get the gospel to hundreds of halt and lame people who, for a lot of reasons, just don't like to show up at other events because they don't feel like they fit in. Then another way we could reach the halt and lame would be a special day of honor at our church for a handicapped or the halt and lame. We did this a couple years ago at our church here, and I was privileged to work with it. We brought in over 400 people for it and had over 300 saved from it, and 150 of those, we carried them up to the baptistry and got them baptized that very same day. And a great, great day it was. We spent the whole day just catering to them. Of course, with that, underneath that, I have provide special transportation. I got about 25 people from our church to kick in some money, and we rented some special buses that day with wheelchair lifts, and we roped off an entire section where the people could all sit with their wheelchairs and such, and made it really special for them. We brought up some people with honor and recognition and gave them some awards and plaques. A third way to reach the halt and lame would be teenagers at your church could provide baked goods. They could grab a snow shovel and go snow shoveling when the snow came down, or lawn work this time of year, cleaning gutters or raking lawns, or once a week go through these different addresses you've collected and just mow the lawns for them. Be a tremendous gesture of goodwill, and also people tend to listen to the gospel better when you do that. Then too, perhaps a semi-retired or retired couple who has just a little bit of time and good health could volunteer to transport halt and lame people to a different appointments. What a wonderful way to have a soul winner right in the car driving somebody to a dentist appointment and could sit with them for an hour in the dental office and just chat with them about the gospel, and tremendous public relations, but also a tremendous way to get the gospel to people that will never come to your church because they don't feel able to get out. Then also a fifth way, a builder or a carpenter in your church or some kind of a construction worker could volunteer to do for free or very reasonably build some handicap attachments or build a ramp, or you could give something like that away. They'd volunteer to go to somebody's house and do some type of construction work for them, and then of course take along a soul winner and witness to them at that time. The big thing is getting the teenagers involved, getting different groups of the church involved. A Sunday school class, a young married couples class could go take the addresses you glean from the Olympics or from these mailing lists and just spontaneously do help for these people. A lot of these people don't like it when you say, would you like our help? They just like it when you do it. And that is my last point. Brother Owens wants the floor.
All right, this urgent
such, and made it really special for them. We brought up some people with honor and recognition and gave them some awards and plaques. A third way to reach the halt and lame would be teenagers at your church could provide baked goods. They could grab a snow shovel and go snow shoveling when the snow came down, or lawn work this time of year, cleaning gutters or raking lawns, or once a week go through these different addresses you've collected and just mow the lawns for them. It'd be a tremendous gesture of goodwill, and also people tend to listen to the gospel better when you do that. Then too, perhaps a semi-retired or retired couple who has just a little bit of time and good health could volunteer to transport halt and lame people to a different appointments. What a wonderful way to have a soul winner right in the car driving somebody to a dentist appointment and could sit with them for an hour in the dental office and just chat with them about the gospel, and tremendous public relations, but also a tremendous way to get the gospel to people that will never come to your church because they don't feel able to get out. Then also a fifth way, a builder or a carpenter in your church or some kind of a construction worker could volunteer to do for free or very reasonably build some handicap attachments or build a ramp, or you could give something like that away. They'd volunteer to go to somebody's house and do some type of construction work for them, and then of course take along a soul winner and witness to them at that time. The big thing is getting the teenagers involved, getting different groups of the church involved. A Sunday school class, a young married couples class could go take the addresses you glean from the Olympics or from these mailing lists and just spontaneously do help for these people. A lot of these people don't like it when you say, would you like our help? They just like it when you do it. And that is my last point.
On several occasions now here at our church, we've done something very exciting that our people have really enjoyed. We've set aside, dedicated a certain amount of time to soul winning and baptizing. We'll put someone in the baptistry for 24 hours straight or 72 hours straight. We'll have different men up there on maybe 6 or 7 hour shifts, and they'll actually be in the baptistry, just standing there or sitting there on the steps waiting. And one time we even did it for 120 hours, 5 days straight, round the clock, 24 hours a day, 5 days in a row. We had someone here in our church, doors unlocked, lights on, the water in the baptistry, and someone up there in the baptistry waiting to baptize any converts that we could win and bring down to the church. So what we would do is during that 24 hours or 72 hours or 5 days and nights, whatever the case, we would organize the soul winners of our church and our ministries so that we would have someone out soul winning all the time, 24 hours a day, for 2 or 3, 4, 5 days in a row. And everybody that we could win, we would bring them down to the church and baptize them as soon as we win them, just sort of like the way they did it in the book of Acts. You know, we found that if you do it the way they did it in the Bible, it works real well. We would just simply figure out where the people are and where they're available to us at that particular time of the day or the night, and then we would go to that area. And as soon as we win them, then we bring them here to the church and we baptize them. For example, we've had our bus workers out on their bus routes. We had people in the parks winning everybody they could just in the public park and bringing them to the church. We had people at bus stops. We had folks going door to door during this time, during the daylight hours, of course, mostly. Then we had folks at night that would go down to, I'm just giving you some of the examples. We had folks at night that would go down to the tavern district where a lot of taverns are, and we would stand out on the sidewalk and witness to folks as they were going in or coming out and win them to Christ and bring them down to the church and get them baptized right that minute. We had folks go downtown Chicago after midnight, and it's surprising how many folks are just out wandering around downtown Chicago at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and we'd win them to Christ. We had open-air meetings, and we'd win folks to Christ that way and bring them down to the church. We would go to the areas where the homeless people are living underneath bridges and so forth all around our area and win them to Christ and bring them. Another example, we went to the cab stands downtown Chicago. There'd be 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 cabs in a row, taxis in a row, waiting to pick up a passenger at a cab stand. And we would put 4 or 5 soul winners out, and in 2 or 3 minutes' time, each one of those soul winners would talk that cab driver into letting him get in the back seat of his cab and witness to him. And we would win 4, 5, 6 cab drivers while they were sitting down there. And sometimes they would even go out on a run and come back by the church after the run and come by and get baptized. We'd tell them we'll meet you here, and they'd come by and get baptized at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I mean, there's nothing else better to do at 2 o'clock in the morning, so they just come by the church and get baptized, you know. And because we just won them to Christ a few minutes before. Or maybe it was about time for their shift to be over, and on the way home they'd come by and get baptized. We would go to buildings that were open all night that have a security guard, and we would witness to the security guard that was on duty there at the front door of some building. And you know, he can't go anywhere. He's on duty. He can't leave. And it's a public building. He can't make you leave. And so you witness to him and get him saved. And then when he gets off work, go back by and pick him up and bring him down. We'd go to all-night convenience stores where customers are coming and going. And then we would go to places where we knew delivery men would be, men delivering newspapers, linens, food, you know, to stores, offices, hotels, and so forth. And we would just go everywhere we could find people out any time of the day or night, and as soon as we win them to Christ, we'd bring them down to the church. But the key is we'd have somebody out soul winning all the time and somebody in the baptistry waiting to baptize those converts. For example, our sailor ministry workers, they chose one time they were going to take a midnight shift. They were going to go from 12 midnight till about 8 o'clock the next morning. And they even took some of their sailors out with them. At midnight, they went to the train stop where the train, the end of the train line where they get off and get on the buses, and they would witness there till about 3 in the morning. Then they went to the nightclub district about 3 in the morning, and as folks were coming out of the nightclubs, they were out on the sidewalks winning them to Christ. Then they went by the projects, the government housing projects, and surprisingly, at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, there's folks just out wandering around at those projects. And so they'd win them to Christ. Then they went down in the subways about 6 in the morning, and as folks were coming into the subway and coming out, they'd win them to Christ. And then they, about 7 o'clock that morning, they went to the rescue mission where they turn them loose. They keep them overnight, feed them supper, and preach to them and keep them overnight. But then the next morning, around 7 or 8 o'clock, they turn them back out on the street, and so we'd go there and witness to the folks. And in all those places, as soon as we win them to Christ, we'd bring them down to the church. Then we had other folks that just witnessed to every visitor or guest that came into their home during that time. And if they had somebody over to eat supper with them, after supper, they'd have dessert and then win them to Christ and then put them in the car and bring them down to church and baptize them. And then we had others that would witness to someone at work, and as soon as they got off work, instead of going home, they'd bring that person by the church on the way home. We've had as many as, one time we baptized for 2 or 3 days, and we had 207 people baptized in that length of time. And one time when we baptized around the clock for several days in a row, we baptized 848 people that we won to Christ and brought them down to the church and baptized them just as soon as we got them saved. And our people really enjoyed it. It was a really exciting time, and I guarantee you it'll work for you. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to share a very brief idea with you. It's in relationship to our public school Bible club ministry. You wouldn't have to have a Bible club ministry to try this or to make this work. We have an annual basketball tournament that we sponsor, and it's intended for the public school young people. Our Bible clubs are the ministries where we go out into the local area near the public high schools, and we'll try to reach all the teenagers we can. We have Saturday meetings for them. We have a big annual basketball tournament. We invite the young people to attend the tournament, and there's an awful lot of excitement involved. We had last year 33 different teams that entered our tournament. It's an all-day thing. We have a junior high tournament. We'll have a senior high tournament. They'll go out into the areas where they live. Our regular Bible Club teenagers will invite all their friends to attend. Of course, we'll have young ladies that will come, and they'll form cheer blocks. We make the boys for the day. They've got to abide by our standards, and they do it. Of course, they want to conform. They'll conform to anything out there in the world. We just have to give them something a little bit better to conform to. They come and they play ball. We have official referees. We put together a flyer to let the community know what's going on. And so we'll have basketball tournament all day long. We give trophies away at the end of the day. Of course, we give trophies away for mascots and the cheer block. But I guess I said it wrong. We don't give them away at the end of the day. We just decide who wins them, because we don't give them away until the next morning in Sunday school. So you can't have your trophy unless you come to Sunday school. And we have had scores and scores of teenagers safe. We'll go through the day, and right before we get to the big final game at the end of the day, we close everything down. We get the PA out. We have some good singing, and then some good preaching, and some people getting saved. And we bring them to church for the next day. Now, you can reach the public school young people. This last Sunday morning alone, over 100 public school teenagers walked the aisle right here in this service professing Christ, and almost all 100 of them were baptized.
Every Saturday morning, soul winners and bus workers of America unite to plan their strategy to reach more souls for Christ. But little do they know, the bus kids of America are also having a meeting all of their own.
Woo! All right.
They call it the Bus Kids Ministry.
Okay, all right. Okay, we all ready to start our meeting now? Okay, all ready?
Yeah.
All right, we'll start, so let's sing. First song, pizzas, 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 I've got 'em on my mind. Hey! Pizzas, 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 I've got 'em on my mind. Pizzas, 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 I got 'em on my mind. Pizzas, 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 I got 'em on my mind. Oh, I got pizzas on my mind. When I'm ditching church, I got 'em on my mind. When I'm ditching church, I got 'em on my mind. When I'm ditching church, I got 'em on my mind. Oh, I got pizzas on my mind. All right, cool. Way to go, bus kids. All right, now, let's sing There's Been No Change Since I've Been Born Again. All right, you ready? Start it out. The things I used to do, I do them more and more. Okay, ready? The things I used to do, I do them more and more. The things I used to do, I still do them more and more. The things I used to do, I do them more and more. There's been no change since I've been born again. There's been
No change.
since I've been born. There's been
No change.
since I've been born. There's been
No change.
since I've been born. There's been no change since I've been born again. The clothes I used to wear, I still wear them all the more. The clothes I used to wear, I still wear them all the more. The clothes I used to wear, I still wear them all the more. There's been no change since I've been born again. There's been
No change.
since I've been born. There's been
No change.
since I've been born. There's been
No change.
since I've been born. There's been no change since I've been born again. Okay, cool, great, all right. Next thing we have to do is fill out our Bus Kids activity reports, okay? So make sure you fill those in. Make sure you write down your name. That's your real name, not the name you give to your bus worker, okay? Make sure you get that down there. And you might want to put down your juvenile center ID number, okay? Put that in there too. All right, make sure you fill that out. Make sure you put in the total number of hours you spent watching TV this week, okay? Make sure you record that there if you can remember that high, all right? And then put down the total number of lady workers that you caused to break down and cry during that last week.
5.
Okay, good. All right, great, okay. Also, make sure you record the approximate amount of damage you caused during the service, okay? Last week we had somebody start a fire in the auditorium, so it was pretty good. All right, you're doing all right. Okay, just keep that up, okay. And then also write down the approximate amount of money you mooched off of your workers for this week, okay? And we'd like to recognize Jose Rodriguez right here, and he mooched off, last week alone, he mooched a total of $1,563.50, causing 3 college students to be financially withdrawn, so it was pretty good. All right, he's doing okay. All right, next, we're going to talk about our baptisms now. Now, how many of you, this last week, you were baptized at least 10 times? Stand up, right here, okay, great, fantastic. How about 5 times? Anybody 5 times? 5 times? 4 times? Okay, great. All right. 3 times? Yeah. Good. 2 times? 1 time?
I've heard.
Hey, that's all right. Hey, he just joined the route, so he'll get that number racked up there pretty soon. Okay. Let's encourage him. Here's something that might help you, brother. Is after you get baptized, just get right back in line. You don't even have to change out of your robe again, and helps out a lot. Okay? All right. Okay. Good. Fantastic. That's doing good.
All right.
Now, here comes probably one of the most important parts of our meeting, and that's when we discuss what excuses we're going to use for why we can't come to church tomorrow, okay? All right, now, think these through. You don't want them when they ask you, can you come to church, and you don't have a reason. You're going to look pretty stupid. So make sure you have an excuse. Let's start right here. What's your excuse?
I don't have a dress.
Okay, that's good. All right. That's one bus kids always use. All right, good. All right, let's try something else then. How about this one right here?
Like, it's too cold.
Oh, too cold. Good. The workers even use that one. Okay, that'll work real good. All right, good. Okay, good. That's real good. Okay, good. All right, right here.
I've got lice.
You've got lice. Okay, all right. That's good. All right, that's good. All right, that's a good one. All right, right here.
Let's see. The bus captain yelled at me, so I'm not coming to church anymore?
That's good. That's one we can use every week. All right, good. All right, fantastic. Okay, right back here.
I'm Catholic, and it's Lent week or Lent month or Lent something. And
Okay.
so I'm trading Sunday school for Lent.
He's giving up his Sunday school for Lent. Okay, that's good. That'll work. All right, that's good. And right here.
I'm under house arrest.
Okay, that'll work. Good. That's a good one. All right. Okay, great. Okay, cool. That's good. All right, now we're almost ready. Your bus workers are going to be knocking on your door in just a few minutes. All right, and when they ask you if you're going to come to church tomorrow, what are you going to tell them? Yeah! But are we going to go? No! What are you going to tell them? Yeah! Are we going to go? No! What are you going to tell them? Yeah! Are we going to go? No! All right, let's get back home and go back to bed. All right! That's how it is. I'd like for you to stand for just a moment and stretch. And make all the noise you can. Marvelous. All right, let's go ahead and have a seat, and we'll begin with some more teaching.
All right. That's great. This is almost like a church ed class at Hyles Anderson. A little more dignified. All right, 2 or 3 more minutes here, talking about how to reach everybody in your area. We are speaking right now on the lanes that Jesus will go out in the streets and the lanes. And by the lanes, we're talking about the residential neighborhoods. And I have about 12 things I want to say here. And I'll say them fast. Also, first of all, have a neighborhood census. We talk a lot about it. Many churches used to do it years ago. It used to be a popular thing decades ago, but a neighborhood census where every single door in your neighborhood is somebody knocks on it. In my bus route area of East Chicago, we've done this. We found more success knocking on garage doors than house doors. Literally, everybody's hanging out in the garage and working on something, and we got more people saved that way than we did knocking on the doors of the houses. But we're talking about making a 4x6 card or even 8 by11 and marking that as a block and going on the edge of the paper and marking every single door that is accessible to you. And of course, apartment buildings, you might have to have a special piece of paper on inside that paper, but we have every door we're accountable for, not just addresses. As you bus captains and workers know, sometimes there's as many as 12 doors on one address, or 15. In Chicago, it's maybe 50. But you want to make sure every body behind that door gets a knock on with your knuckles. Along with that, with the neighborhood census, we're trying just to get prospects, perhaps, with this one, a get acquainted time. Not necessarily aggressive soul winning at this time, but we want to find out just basically two things. First of all, the name and age of everybody living there, and then also with their religious affiliation. And this is a good way to introduce some new people who are not used to soul winning, a little scared to give the gospel. They can knock on a door and just take a neighborhood census. Those cards, of course, would then be given to the soul winners. Secondly, we're suggesting a block party. Perhaps one time a year, you could have a block party in your neighborhood. You could provide refreshments. Make sure you do. They'll bring the wrong kind. Have some friendly games of competition, such as horseshoes or volleyball, croquet, something like that. A brief get acquainted time. We're talking 30 to 60 minutes max. Maybe just a quick barbecue of hot dogs and hamburgers just to get acquainted, and then you give a very brief testimony or introduce your pastor or an assistant pastor. And again, we're talking 5 to 7 minutes of brief testimony, making them aware of what your church offers, and perhaps some really classy, sharp literature to pass out to them, making yourselves available to them for pastoral counseling or for follow-up visits. It's basically let the neighbors know that you're a real live human being and that you'd also like to be able to be a friend to them in a Christian way. Next, quickly, we're suggesting a cookie exchange or a white elephant exchange. Ladies could have a tea and cookie exchange where they invite the ladies, could have fancy stationery put out, an RSVP, where they could say, bring your favorite cookies and a recipe to our house. We'll exchange recipes and exchange cookies and have some tea. And at that time, again, a very sweet, very personal, very brief testimony of what Christ means to you. Some of you ladies have tremendous testimonies that would be a phenomenal advantage and encouragement to the ladies in your area. And again, they could see that you're a normal, real, live, breathing individual that is also a Christian. Then another idea we've used here many times, and I've loved to do it, we rent a flatbed truck, and does not cost that much money. We put some big speakers on it, have some real good, maybe a gospel quartet, some fellows like this sang a little while ago, and we'll go to a neighborhood and we'll have them sing, and it just draws a crowd. We've had as many as 400 or 500 people come just to one stop there, and then we'll have one man. We've had karate demonstrations, we've had weightlifting demonstrations, or some type of martial arts demonstration, and maybe have the guys come up and swing or hit or box or something, little competition, and then we preach at them 5 minutes. In fact, one day we did that. We had 1,200 saved just over here in Harvey, Illinois, just in about 3 hours. And it's a lot of fun. We've done it many times. It's a lot of fun. It generates a lot of enthusiasm for people in your church who may not be real good soul winners, but the soul winners go out in the crowd while they're there. And as soon as the gospel is given, the hands are raised, and the people pray a prayer with you. Then they have literature by the handfuls to pass all those people and talk to several individuals right away. As you raise your hand, did you know what you did? And we'll spend maybe 20 minutes or 15 minutes there with those people. Quickly here, a neighborhood chapel time. You can take a bus and convert it into a little puppet show type arena inside, pull out some seats and put up some barriers and have some people give a puppet show inside there and invite the kids to come in, the teenagers. Another idea, neighborhood basketball tournament for teenagers. Everybody's got a basketball hoop, and you could have slam dunk contests and such. Next, number 7. One fellow in our church here he had a large lot. He had 1.5 acres of property in his neighborhood, but he had a petting zoo. He had a farmer who had several animals that were very tame, and he brought them to his property, and the whole neighborhood came over and their kids, and he passed out literature and won dozens of people to Christ that way. Number 8, watch for the sold sign on a for sale sign. When people are about to move, you could give them a hand moving. People won't turn down free help, I promise you. And when you do that, they have a little obligation to listen to you and give the gospel. And since we're moving on the neighborhood, you can be pretty tough with them anyway. Next point, number 9. One fellow came to me just recently. He said, Brother Scott, I have a horrible time knocking on doors. What do? I said, take a shovel. We had 9 inches of fresh snow. I said, walk the neighborhood. First guy you see shoveling snow, give him a hand. He spent 2 hours shoveling snow, won the guy to Christ, and said, that's the most fun I had sowing in a long time. But just take a shovel and walk through the neighborhood after snow. The same thing with a push lawnmower or a rake during the autumn season, with there's a lot of trees in the neighborhood. Quickly here, 3 more. A free neighborhood car wash. You get the teenagers together and go from neighborhood to neighborhood. Once a month, they give a free neighborhood car wash. The girls could bake cookies and have coffee, and while the people get the car wash, you could have soul winners by the coffee stand, the refreshment stand, giving out gospel literature tracts and witnessing to people. And if they're a hard case, take a long time in the car. Number 12, or other things, slash tires. Door hangers. Get saved or else. Door hangers offering free pastoral, marriage counseling, etc. And then finally a community newsletter. Several people in your neighborhood might want to go in and say, I'll do concrete work cheap or construction work cheap, whatever. If you had a newsletter, a lot of you have personal computers, you could offer many things, including free pastoral visits and be a line into the house, encouragement, word of scripture, gospel literature, a tract attached to it. And then, of course, you got to go to their house to get information, so it's a natural lead in their house. God bless you. Let's win them all to Christ. Amen.
All right, I'm going to share something that's new to us, and I think that you'll appreciate it. It's something that you'll be able to use. We're starting a new series of clubs that we're going to call the Timothy Clubs. These are clubs that are especially designed for children. They'll be meeting in neighborhoods throughout our community. We got the name Timothy Clubs from 2 Timothy 3:15, the Bible says, and that from a child thou hast known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith, which is in Jesus Christ. Of course, the purpose of this, or these clubs, is to get as many young people, as many children as we can saved. They'll be patterned somewhat like or after our teenage Bible clubs, but we're going to have them just for children. We're going to invite the children to Sunday school, but we're going to have a meeting away from the property, in the community, trying to win them in the area where they live. It's a soul-winning ministry. We're going to try to get every little boy saved and every little girl saved that we can. But not only that, if a parent will trust you with their child, there's a good chance they're going to listen and hear you out when you present the gospel. So it'll be a tremendous opportunity to witness to some parents. I'm going to walk you through it very slowly. I'm going to give you some things that we're doing, that we're going to do, and I hope some things that you'll do if you would consider going home and starting Timothy Clubs for the people in your community. I want to talk to you about the people that would be involved in a Timothy Club. Of course, you're going to need a Timothy Club leader. Here, and I think it ought to be everywhere, every person that fills any position of any type here at First Baptist Church is pastor approved. We trust Brother Hyles. We trust our pastor. God gives the pastor wisdom, and we feel that he would best know who would qualify. This Timothy Club leader should be an adult that has proven himself, proven his love for Christ, his love and obedience to the Bible, as well as being faithful to church. Now, workers that are going to work with children like this should be very carefully screened. They should be people that have been in your church for some time. We do not make it a policy to put someone in charge of a children's group that just joined our church. They need to establish their testimony with us and with the community somewhat before they'd be allowed to do something like this. A church or a Christian school staff member would make an excellent Timothy Club leader. A happily married young couple that's been in your church for some time could lead a Timothy Club. I do not recommend the responsibility for teenagers. I think that teenagers could play another part, but you're going to have a hard time having the community trust their children to teenagers today. So it needs to be a responsible, dependable person. It could be a single person that's a little older but dependable and faithful. Now, some qualities to look for in a Timothy Club leader. Of course, they're going to need to love children. They're going to have to learn to be patient. The children that are reared in the church are very different than the children that are being reared in the world. The children that are being reared in the church are being taught morals and character. The children in the world, it's sad, but they can make it all the way through the 5th and 6th grade and they have no idea how to read, and then they can go on through the high school and they don't know how to read. And so it's going to have to be someone that will be patient with the children. They're going to have to portray to the parents. This Timothy Club leader has got to convince the parents that they're trustworthy, that this leader, he's got to convince that mom and dad that the leader will take good care of their children. His personality, He needs to have some pizzazz, if you will, a little bit of excitement about himself. You see, the children in our generation are being reared by the television, and it takes just a little bit of excitement. You're not going to be a bland, blasé Christian and lead the children of this generation. You need to get excited about the fact that God saved you, and there's some excitement in the church. And if you'll find a person like that, they could lead a Timothy club. Now, not everybody will be a leader of a Timothy club. Some would like to just pitch in and help. We would maybe call them a Timothy club worker. A leader's going to need someone to assist him. We have a policy here. Anytime we exceed the number of 10 children in a group, we add another adult worker. Now, more than 1 per 10 is excellent, but never should we go beyond 1 per 10. A worker is going to have some of the same qualities that the leader would have. They may not be able to lead, but they ought to be there to help the leader and to meet his needs. And in every worker's situation, they ought to have the ability to follow, but not only the ability to follow, but they're willing to exercise that ability. A lot of followers don't do what they're supposed to. Now, a worker should be someone that would, of course, as I said, follow, but in addition to that, they've got to be given a few responsibilities, because if not, they're going to begin to feel like babysitters. And so they need some responsibilities, something that will get them to the meetings and get them participating so they don't feel like they're wasting their time. Now, at this point, maybe an older, more mature teenager could get involved, and they could assist a leader in helping to keep the children behaving and participating in games and activities and things of that nature. Now, I would not let any teenager participate as a worker that I would not allow to interact with my own children. I would have no one involved with these children that you would not have involved with your very own children. These children are just as important as anybody else's children, and so they ought to be cared for and loved as if they were your very own. Now, of course, we would need to talk about the children. Jesus said, "Suffer the little children and forbid them not." And God knows there are more people saved in their childhood years than at any other time in their life. The older we get, the harder we get, and the less interested we are in the Lord. And that's too bad, so we better reach them while they're young. We better reach them while their hearts are tender. And a child can be led to Christ so easily. They're sensitive. When you tell a child they're a sinner, they're convinced, and they'll believe in Jesus. And so we need to reach them while they're children. Now, the school grade level that I would recommend that you start a club like this would be the 3rd grade through the 5th grade. Now, the reason that we go from 3rd to 5th to start is because our teenage high school and junior high Bible clubs start at the 6th grade here. Maybe you would choose to take your age limit up to the 6th grade for these children's clubs. But because the middle schools in our area start at 6th grade, we take our children's Timothy clubs up to the 5th grade. Now, we're going to give answer to God for forsaking the children. You know that television makes a bid for the children, the homosexuals are making a bid for the children, and the commercials, and everybody's making a bid for the children. It seemed like that we too, as the church, would be interested in reaching the children. Now, let me talk to you about the program just a little bit. In choosing an area to start your Timothy Club, I'm going to suggest that you go to some neighborhood near the church where the church's reputation will let the people know what you stand for. I feel like if you're near your church, the people that live in that area know who you are and know what you stand for, and if you've established a good reputation, then there's a good chance that that would be a productive place to start a Timothy Club. Maybe you would want to start your Timothy Club in the neighborhood where the Timothy Club leader lives. There's going to be people that maybe do not attend your church in that area, but maybe they would allow their children to go to the Timothy Club leader's home and have a short Timothy Club meeting on a Saturday afternoon. The kids that ride their bikes up and down the block could be invited. And because that leader has established a good reputation, because that leader is known in that little neighborhood, the parents are more apt to allow their children to get involved in a little program like this. Of course, not everybody's convinced that they should let their children come to our church. Now, you have to understand, in some cases, I don't blame them. If you walked up to my house and knocked on the door and asked if you could have my children for a little while, you're not going to get them until I find out a lot about you. And I'm going to watch you. And so I can't blame them. So if we go into an area where the Timothy Club leader lives, and he could hold this club in his home, you're going to have some neighbors that will trust you just a little more quickly, and you'll establish your club a little faster that way. Then, of course, we talked about Timothy Club workers. You wouldn't necessarily just have to be the leader's home, but maybe you could have this little club meeting in the worker's home. And then, maybe, I think it would be a good idea if you would have it establish a Timothy Club near a grade school. I know that in our area there are grade schools everywhere, but then there are some areas where you might find older people living and very, very few children. I have some areas, I have a big map of Lake County, and in some areas it just seems as if there are no children or teenagers at all living in those neighborhoods. And I know where they are because we've just covered this county just completely like a blanket, and we've knocked on all the doors, and so we know where there are more children than, well, in some cases, like I said, there are places where older people live, and so we want to target a place where there'll be great numerical potential. Now, when you start your Timothy Club in an area like this, we're finding that since we have teenage Bible clubs, it's very productive to start a Timothy Club in the same area where you have established a teenage Bible club. Of course, that would mean that the Bible club teenagers, younger brothers and sisters, could get involved in your Timothy Club. If you're already reaching teenagers in an area, that would mean their parents somewhat already trust you, and it may be that that would be an open door for you to reach their children and get their children involved. I know that I've been running the Bible Club ministry for years and years, and all their little brothers and sisters, all those teenagers that have a little brother or little sister, those children constantly look forward to the day when they can get involved in their big brother or their big sister's Bible club. Well, when we announced the fact that we were starting these clubs for children, the children got very excited because now they had something like the Big Brother's Bible Club. Now, I want to talk to you about finding the children and the prospects and how to deal with them. We'll talk about visitation and soul winning some. Never approach children while they're alone. Children should only be approached if they're with a much older teenager or an adult. Remember, you should be cautious and deal with these children the way you would want your children dealt with. Secondly, never give something to a child on the street without first getting permission from a parent. There are a lot of people out there that are deranged, that would give a piece of candy away, and they would have bad intentions. And I think it's very important. I warn my children to be careful around the strangers and take nothing from them. And any sensible parent's going to do that. And so don't be offended if they're watching you like a hawk, or they're offended because you approached their child. It would be appropriate to just go and see mom and dad. So don't talk to children that are playing outside their home. Go right to the home and talk to mom and dad and get mom and dad's permission to talk to the children. You're going to gain the respect of the parents in the community that way. They're going to see that you're a valid organization, that you're truly concerned, and that you're respecting their position as parents. Then, never bring a child to your Timothy Club without personally getting the parents' permission. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little more in detail about that in a second, because we're going to talk about a registration process. But you should never take a child away from his parents or where his parents expect him to be without those parents knowing exactly where that child is, and not only that, the parents giving permission for that taking place. You could promote this by going door to door. You could, of course, go door-to-door soul winning and promote your program to everybody that you come across. Of course, win everybody to the Lord that you can, whether they have children or not in their home. But tell them of your program and promote it to the community. You're going to find that some people that have no children would be interested in seeing maybe their grandchildren, or maybe they have a brother or sister that lives somewhere nearby, and they'll give you some names and addresses and good prospects. But I would present your Timothy Club program to everybody, every parent that you meet along the way. And it's a good way for you to kind of go through the community. If you knock on the door, no matter how old somebody is or what their standing is, you could tell them that you're promoting this children's program to help the children in the community, and then you would have a way to witness to them. If a child answers the door when you knock on the door, the right thing to do would be to ask if mom and dad were there so that you could communicate with mom and dad first. Now, remember, if you have teenage Bible clubs, a little brother and sister would be an excellent prospect for this. So now we're talking about the soul winning and how to find the children. And so you're going to have all sorts of teenagers that have younger brothers and sisters that may want to get involved in a program like the Timothy Club. Now, to help win the parents' confidence, there's some things that you might want to do. For instance, having a nicely printed flyer that tells of your program, or maybe you would even want to get a business card size of an advertisement and have the leader's name. This Timothy Club leader's name may need to show up on there. I would have on there in some bold print the name of this, the Timothy Club. I would have the pastor's name on there and the church address and the church phone number. That's very important. If you expect the parents to trust you, you ought to give them every reason in the world to trust you. It will kind of validate the fact that you are an outstanding or upstanding organization in the community, and I think that that will help them to trust you some. Now, I think that what you should do is you ought to put the children through a registration process. If you meet kids on the street and you want to get them involved, you begin to talk to their parents now, I think it would work well for you, and you'll save yourself a lot of trouble and heartache if you'll use a registration process that we'll call a membership process. Now, by using a first-class registration system, you're going to win the confidence of the parents. And I'm very concerned about First Baptist Church reputation. I want people to see that we're reputable, that we care about them, that we're concerned for their children, we're concerned for their family. And so when I use this registration process, again, I think I'll win their confidence this way. When a new prospect is found, and you've received verbal permission from mom and dad, or mom or dad, for the children to attend the Timothy Club, this is what I would do. I would simply say on the spot, I wouldn't register the children later when they got to the church. I wouldn't register the children later when they got to the leader's home. I would do it right there, and if you fulfilled this registration process, it'll have to be done on the spot, because I'm going to get mom or dad's signature at the end giving me permission for their children to participate in my program. I would have on your registration card the child's full name, and then the parent's full name. Of course, we're going to need the street address and the city and the state and the zip code. All those things will be important, not just so you have it on record, but it may be important because you'd like to communicate through the mail with the parents some. Often little ones don't take home the whole story, and maybe you have some activity planned and you feel like a note to mom and dad would help, and they would be encouraged by it, and I think they would be impressed if they received something in the mail. We're going to need the phone number. Sometimes they don't remember the phone number, and so if an emergency were to occur, we would want the phone number for mom and dad. We need the child's age and birth date. I think somewhere on your registration process or on your registration card in this process, you should have an in case of emergency phone number. The parents will feel a little more secure about that. You see them on all sorts of applications and things, and I know when my wife fills one out on me, I feel more secure. And so I want them to be as secure and as confident as they can be. Now, any medical information that you might need to know ought to be asked and maybe put on this registration sheet. Do you see how when we approach someone with this, if we're doing it appropriately, we may win the confidence of the parents enough that they would allow us to reach their children, which means eventually we're going to get some kids saved and get somebody out of hell. We may reach the whole family by starting with Junior and getting him saved and proving to mom and dad we really, really care. I would get the name of the grade school that the child attends. It'll help you some. It'll help you to know who's attending your Timothy Club. Then I would have a statement something like this. There would be a statement printed on the sheet, and there's a place for the child's name and the parent's signature, and it would read something like this. The above information is true and complete to the best of my knowledge. I do hereby give my permission that my child, and the child's name, may attend the Timothy Club sponsored by the First Baptist Church of Hammond, then a spot for the parent or guardian's name, and then I would have it dated. I would be very polite, and I would be very courteous about putting them through this process. Now, I would keep that registration form on file from that point on. You wouldn't want to lose that thing. You want the fact that mom and dad have given permission for their child to attend this Timothy Club meeting. Now, I would never allow a child to come to my Timothy Club meeting unless I put them through this process and I made sure that mom and dad agreed that they could come. I wouldn't take them away from their home unless that were the case. Now, after I got this registration card filled out or registration paper filled out, I would then allow the child to come for weeks after that, but I would never take the child unless I got mom and dad's verbal permission and they knew exactly where the child was going on that Saturday. Now, it might be that a slight registration fee added to this thing would give it just a little bit more of it would be a little more classy that way. Maybe $3 or $4, and the parents may feel like, they'll feel like they're going to get more just because they paid something, and this might give you a little bit more of a first-class presentation. Now, what I would do, after a child has gone through the registration process, you should at that point let the parents know that the child will receive a Timothy Club membership card. And you would be able to, maybe you could get that form at that meeting that they're about to attend for the first time, or maybe you would have to deliver it the next week while you're visiting the Timothy Club children. But I think you make a nice little card that you could give the child. It would say the Timothy Club on it, or it could say official member of Timothy Club. You could put the verse 2 Timothy 3:15 and spell it out and make a big deal about the children memorizing that verse. We would want to print the child's name on the card so it's personalized. Maybe have the leader's signature on one spot and have the pastor's signature on another spot. And I would advise, if you can, you could have that card laminated, give it to the child, and I think, honestly, a child between grades 3 and 5 would make real big of being a part of a club like that was ran first class, where they would have their very own membership card. Now, when could you hold this Timothy Club meeting? We're going to hold ours on Saturdays. And so we're going to be meeting on Saturdays at late morning or early afternoon. Now, you could hold the club any day of the week after school. You could, and again, you meet in the communities. You wait until the children get home from school and get settled in, and you could work a Timothy Club meeting in between the time the children get home from school and the time that their parents would want them home, of course, for supper. Then, where could you hold a Timothy Club meeting? You could hold it in a neighborhood. We've talked about that. We've talked about the leader's home, the worker's home. Maybe a concerned church member would allow you to use their home. If good rapport has been established, it may be that some parent of a Timothy Club child would allow you to use their home. Now, you've got to be very careful in doing this because there are going to be things that will arise. You'll not be able to control them, so I would lean away from using the parents' homes, but use a controlled environment where there's somebody that's been in your church. Now, the closer to the children's home you can hold this club, the better off you are. Parents aren't going to be in a hurry to let you cart their children off and take them miles and miles and miles away from home, at least not when they first get to know you. I feel like if you'd have the club in the neighborhood, it's going to make a real big difference. Of course, there's going to be YMCAs. There's often the local library will have a facility that you can use. If the weather's nice, you could hold your Timothy Club in a park. Then you're going to have your Christian school facilities. You'll have the church facilities, and all of those will do. Our goal's just to get the children saved. Now, it would be good if you could establish some sort of a club image. Maybe each of your Timothy clubs, and some of you will start with one, and there's some pastors in this room right now. You could go home and you could start 4 or 5 Timothy clubs. Well, if that be the case, maybe each of your clubs should pick a theme color. something that the children would recognize. Maybe their club membership card would always be printed in red, and then another in blue and another in green, and they would always recognize that color as a part of their club image. Maybe you would develop some sort of a club mascot, a picture that would be printed onto that club membership card. Maybe it is you would want your individual Timothy clubs, if you're going to have more than one, maybe you'd like to give them a name. We're considering at this very moment naming our Timothy clubs after the books of the Bible, starting with the Matthew Club and the Mark and then the Luke and then the John Club. And of course they're all named after the book of Timothy. And you could go with just about any name you wanted. I like the name the King James Club. I think you could develop a club song and that the children could use it as a theme. And maybe every week start your Timothy Club meeting by quoting the verse in 2 Timothy 3. Club badges could be made, and the children could wear them to their Timothy Club meeting every Saturday. And then, of course, along with this thing of an image, they're going to have their Timothy Club card. I can see you convincing the children to take their membership card to school with them and telling everybody about the club that they're a member of. Now, let me talk to you quickly about a Timothy Club meeting, the actual meeting. I would choose one truth that you want to teach the children. Just one truth. Every skit that you have on a day, I would make sure that it was teaching that one truth. Try to make every song teach that one truth. Have the Bible lesson, of course, teach that one truth. You could even design games that could help to teach that truth. If you have a color sheet for the day, make that color sheet something to teach the truth that you're trying to get across to the children. All the way down to the refreshments. If you'll use your imagination, the cookies could be decorated to teach that one truth. Children of today that live in the world have, their minds are somewhat spoiled. Everything's done for them. They go from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea to Star Trek, all in the matter of just a few seconds, and they need everything they can get to get a truth across to them. And so I think taking one theme and working that one theme through your whole meeting will help you to better get the point across. Of course, theme ideas, we're always going to be presenting salvation. We're constantly going to be checking on the children, making sure they're saved, but you could teach them on baptism and separation, and if you throw obedience to the parents in there, it's not going to hurt, and it sure will promote at the door. One thing we teach at our Timothy clubs is obeying your parents and doing what your parents expect of you. Now, I would work very hard at making it an exciting thing. Maybe you would want to send home a weekly memo with the children, maybe a half sheet of paper. And on that memo, it would announce everyone that had celebrated a birthday in the last week, and they'll see their child's name on there. It'll be very, very personal. Maybe something welcoming the new members that have joined. They've gone through a registration process. It wouldn't be hard to do. Any honors that children had received while attending the Timothy Club, you could print that into this little bulletin or this little take-home sheet of paper. I think you're going to have a chance to win some parents this way. I think that you could have a rally then with all your Timothy clubs every 8 weeks or so and just bring them all together, and even that could be something that parents could possibly attend. I could see you having a yearly banquet for all the Timothy clubs and their parents and serving a nice meal, and the pastor standing up and presenting the gospel and talking about how much he loves the children, and I could see a revival coming in your community as a result of the Timothy Club idea.